it's just as important to provide value out to your partners as it is to get it back. In 15 minutes, you can provide enough value where you just are guaranteed to get higher response rates. Agencies are in many ways a dime a dozen, and so they're looking for any way they can to really differentiate themselves. The Pareto principle, the 80-20, where 80% of the revenue in the pipeline you drive from your partners is from 20% of the partners.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Partnerships Unlocked, where we're going to give you front row seat to the top partner leaders building the leading programs out there today. It's going to be tactical, it's going to be quick, it's going to be actionable. And today I am so excited to have a very longtime friend. And honestly, I think, again, one of the best partner leaders that I know and one of the best operators that I know, which I think is equally as important, Marco de Paulis.
Thank you, man. Glad to be here. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would you mind giving the audience a little bit of a background of your time in partnerships?
Yeah, man. I don't know if I can do the intro justice, but I've been in the game now for a little under 10 years. Not atypical. I started as more like the sales and marketing side of things. I was working at agencies and kind of stumbled on these tech vendors being a good, consistent lead flow. And I was like, how do I just milk this and just continue to lean in? And sort of realized that was like a role in itself. And so leaned into that more on the agency side, did that for a bit and jumped over to SaaS. And I've been playing in the Shopify SaaS ecosystem now for a good 7-8 years at various players. I've done MarTech, I've done logistics, and now I'm on the return side at Loop Returns.
Awesome. I love it. And you've built some amazing programs. And I think we knew each other back when we partnered before you were even in partnerships and you were at an agency, but then you were one of the folks that I think was just such a natural in the job, and you understood kind of early on that it wasn't just about hugs and chugs or relationships. It was about structure. It was about operating strongly. And I hope this isn't spoiling one of your answers to the questions, but I think one thing I've just always really love that you've done very well and just got from day one instinctively is that it's just as important to provide value out to your partners as it is to get it back. But yeah, let's jump in. Would love to start with one player tactic you've run that has just been super successful for you. Maybe you did it once, maybe it's just part of your playbook now. Why did it work and what did you learn about it?
Yeah, totally. I have like a sort of two-sided example here. And so in the instance where you have mutual customers with a partner, right, which is not always the case. But if you have some mutual customers, one thing that I did back in the day, again, because I had some of the agency experience, be on the partner side, was I would go audit the accounts of our shared customers. And so few people actually take the time or even really care enough to, they're always just focused on new business. How do we bring in the new leads? But then how do you show the partner that account is successful, show them that you actually care about how successful they are and how much more successful they can be. And so I would spend time in the dashboard and, not for every single mutual account, but sometimes I'd ask the partner, hey, what's like the one or two clients you're really working to retain or keep, or you're going through something with, or, has the most room for growth. I'd go spend a few hours in the portal, find a few things that they could go do better. And then I would provide that up to the agency. And then the agency then looks like the hero because they were just given, a list of 5 recommendations to go change, improve, or things that are going really well. And then they can display that to the client. They can go find a few hours to do more work. And it's almost like I'm working for the agency, right? But I have the expertise of the tool that they don't. And I have the time to just go sleuth around and look at things when they may not, right? Because they're always trying to build more. And that worked incredibly well in many ways where you unlock a new level of trust in the partnership because you show that you're not just trying to get leads out of them, but you truly want them and their clients to be successful. And then it shows you as the expert. And so they end up turning to you, not just, hey, I have a lead for you, or do you want to sponsor our happy hour? But oh, hey, let's go to Marco because he actually knows his shit. And we need him to give us a couple tips or advice for what to do on this account or what to do for this prospect that we're talking to.
Wow. I've actually never heard that one before. And I think that that's an awesome example. And I'm actually curious in this scenario where you first figured this out, Was this a situation where the agency was also billing some sort of services on top of the product, or they were really just kind of managing it on behalf of the customer? Maybe there wasn't like a lot of services, and this was your way to really just kind of help them shine and, add more value, as it were, even though the value was coming from you. But at the end of the day, it's about how the customer perceives them.
Yeah, it really kind of could work in either way, right? Like if they're doing some services around the tool, great. Maybe you just gave them like another 4 hours to go bill for, and of course, like add value for. But if they can't do any services around it, at the very least, like what does that say about the agency? I'm looking into something that I may not be getting paid for, but I'm looking out for you. And here's a few tips of things that like you should fix. Like you don't have this integration connected, or there's a setting here or there that you can use to get more out of this feature, and you're not using it. Like you should go do that, and that helps an agency stand out, right? Because at the end of the day, agencies in particular, obviously this is a pretty agency specific conversation. They're it's super competitive space. There's always other agencies banging on the door of that brand. So they're not just trying to like do what they need to do to fulfill the contract, but they're always looking for ways to stand out and add value in other ways, whether it is directly tied to their services or not. And so if you can kind of do that work for them, you're just making them that much more likely to retain that client and add value for that client. And then that makes you that much more valuable to them.
Yeah, and I think that's a great call out. Look, like not everybody partners with agencies, but a lot of people do. And I think that's always a challenge that technology companies find in that relationship, where they find themselves generally downstream of agency decision-making processes. And sometimes, especially with PLG software, there's not always a whole lot of meat on the bone from like a services or implementation perspective. So how do you really add value to that agency partner? And look, to your point, agencies are in many ways a dime a dozen. And so they're looking for any way they can to really differentiate themselves, and really solidify that value, because the perceived switching costs for a customer with an agency seem to be very low, right? So I really love that. And my last question, just because I find this a very interesting answer, what resources did you have to get internally, if any, to make that happen? And what was kind of the investment to ROI, right? Like how much of your time did you have to spend to do that for the agencies, and how did it pay off for you?
Yeah, first question. I think as long as you have a sort of admin access to the tool, then you can just go in and sleuth around, right? Just like don't play with any settings, don't change anything. As long as you have that power, you can kind of go do it yourself. I've also had to do it in a way where I've had to like ask their customer, success rep or merchant success rep, hey, can you just like take a quick look, pull a little bit of data for me, and give me like thumbs up, thumbs down on some stuff, like 15 minutes of your time. So sometimes you have to, kind of have a friend over on the success or support or whatever side. But either way, it can be pulled off with like not a ton of time and not a ton of work. And I think it's a pretty good investment to your second question, which is like in 15 minutes, you can provide enough value where I think two things happen. One, I said this earlier, you really stand out in a sea of 20, 30 partner managers constantly banging on their door, right? Of like, send me leads, or, do this thing with me, answer my email, or partner with me. And so you just like are guaranteed to get higher response rates, faster, which like kind of is everything in this game. And building that relationship further. And then like it tangibly leads to more pipeline for you. And that's what I experienced. Like the partners that leaned into this motion with me, I mean, I can't quantify it exactly, but I would say they are much, much, much more likely to bring me more business, because there's confidence in not just the product, but me as a partner ensuring that that product's going to be successful, versus, the other tool where like it's a bit of speculation. Because at the end of the day, whether it's agency, tech, it doesn't matter. Like they're sticking their neck out recommending a tool. So the more confidence you can give them, the more stories and success you can show them, and to show them that they're not alone in it and that you're going to be, by their side, it creates so much more opportunity for you in the form of pipeline and revenue. It's not even funny. And this also like can be a little bit of a play for tech partners as well. And it's a little bit less of here's services you can do, or here's things that are, maybe not going well, but how do you just tell the stories of success that your mutual customers have, even with a tech partner, right? because so few of those partners are actually looking at the dashboard of your solution. Like almost nobody is, right? So how do you just give them stories to tell and show them that things are all peachy, right? Whenever they refer your clients over.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, that all makes so much sense. I've no further questions, Your Honor. Moving on to something that you tried and had all instincts and high hopes that it would be a great strategy with partner or partners, and it really just failed, and it was a big learning for you.
Yeah. So I would say I kind of have two things that come to mind here. One's a little bit of like a running joke sometimes, but it's like partner happy hours and like sponsoring happy hours. Just don't do them. Investing a few $1,000s into getting a bunch of people at a bar, late, like it's the noisiest thing. Conversations don't happen. Pipeline doesn't come from happy hours ever. So don't ever expect any ROI from like a typical happy hour. Invest in the events that are like, you can actually have conversations and it's more niche and small and experiential. That's a little bit of a joke, but it is truth for me. And I've like, gone into this thinking, oh, this is going to be great, and nothing comes of it. I would say on a little bit more of a tactical side, Greg, and I say this while literally in the process of like updating this and building this right now, but launching like a partner program does not mean that everyone's just going to all of a sudden rush to you and want to, double down on your partnership and all of that, right? Like it's not a if you build it, they will come situation. And so it's not a knack or a knock against doing partner programs and tiering and all those things. But there are many times where I see it done like really, really early. And you don't really have like a sufficient amount of partners or data about those partners. Or like you haven't even really figured out how to generate value for partners, but like you're building a partner program, like that's not going to solve your problems. That's not going to create the demand and the interest that you're hoping for. And it's not just going to like, 2x your pipeline and your revenue from partners. That is not a silver bullet by any means. And so when you're doing that, I would just like set your expectations low and know that you're doing it for operational purposes, know that you're doing it for like creating incentives and motivations, know that you're doing it for properly, giving your own, yourself and your teams like the right tools to prioritize and deprioritize, your partners and the resources and the investments. And don't think of it as this, huge thing that's going to all of a sudden turn your partner program into something that is incredible and that's going to attract all the attention, all the love, and it's going to get everyone in there and then sending you business like crazy, because that's just not what it's for.
That's also a great call out that nobody has mentioned, but I think a lot of people make that mistake. They're just like, oh, we've created structure and tiers and we've given you rev share and, whatever, is going to suddenly, why would your partners care? Like what have you done? Like, yeah, if suddenly there's a path to making a ton of money on services revenue and there's a very clear what's in it for them story and there's a very clear path to progress to more value, that'll help, right? That's not necessarily going to get them all to suddenly like get on the wait list. I think there's a lot more to it than just building that out. So it's a really solid call out. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just a lot of the times it's done too soon before you really know, what the path to success is and what the motivations and incentives are, for those people. So give it time, get the data, just like build the really strong partnerships. You don't need a program to do that successfully. And again, I say that as like, we're building and sort of refreshing our program, but I fully expect, like I have no expectations for things to just take off from here. It is just one step in the foundation of like building a successful, fully functioning 360 degrees sort of, partner experience.
Right. And I think that's the people get ahead of themselves because they want to seem strategic or what have you, but they don't actually take the time, to your point, to figure out like, well, let's do, because building a partner program is building a business within a business, right? You're building a product, your partners are your customers. You don't start by building the whole thing first and just handing it to them. Like everybody knows, you start with bits and pieces, you do things that don't scale, you start to figure out what is resonating, and then you build structure around that until finally you have so much that you can create a very cohesive program with all of these pieces. But just saying like, I think this is what this should look like, and then just building it with absolutely no kind of feedback from the partners as you go is just a waste of time.
100%. Yep. You're going to be redoing it in 6 months or a year.
Exactly. And you're going to be already behind the 8 ball because you spent all that time trying to build the program instead of trying to drive some early outcomes. It's a great call out. I love it. Awesome. And then maybe a few kind of unlocks that you learned at some point in your career that were great for, just your partnership success that you just wish you knew earlier.
Yeah, I think I wish I knew earlier that quantity of partners did not equal, overall like success of partnerships, right? And your ability to actually create a sustainable partnerships ecosystem. Actually, it's kind of creating the opposite. If you're just creating this huge list of like partners that you think are going to all of them are just going to just dive in and figure out and get activated and refer you business all the time. Like, it's not that way. It is much more like direct one-to-one relationships, no matter how badly we all want to scale it, right? Like, we're not Amazon, AWS, or Microsoft embedding our products into systems. These are relationship games. And so the wider you go, the more shallow typically those relationships are. And the more shallow that relationship is, the less you're going to see from it. And so what always ends up happening is the Pareto principle, the 80-20, where 80% of the revenue in the pipeline you drive from your partners is from 20% of the partners. And I learned that the hard way. And so focus on your 20%, focus on hopefully even, a little bit of a larger portion of a smaller program, because you only have 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week, no matter, however hard you're working. You can't really grow that all that much. But if you're growing your partner ecosystem, 2x every few months or something, you just can't possibly keep up with it. And the partners that are driving the value, you're going to give them less attention because you're chasing all these other guys trying to get them activated. So less is more, ultimately, I think, said in a much shorter way in this game. And I think you will see similar, if not better, outputs with fewer partners. And if you're just trying to, get a bunch of them referring all the time.
Yeah. I think hopefully there's going to be some CEOs and CROs listening to this and they hear that point. We'll definitely clip that one so they know that it's not the same game as sales. You're not just trying to fill the top of the funnel.
Correct.
That's a great one. Anything else?
These relationships last years and multiple roles, so like protect your reputation, do right by your partners, invest in your partners as much as you possibly can, because you may leave this company in 6 months or a year, but if you're staying in an ecosystem, you're going to probably bump into them not too long from there, right? So I have partnerships that have lasted, talk about our relationship, Greg, like we literally met, we're going on like 8-9 years. And we have partnered in multiple capacities and we've stayed in touch, and like we've made introductions, and our relationship has blossomed to other relationships and other partnerships. And so whatever you're doing, just like do it in the best way that you possibly can. Be honest, be truthful, add value as much as you possibly can, because what you're doing today can continue to impact your career 10 years from now if you're still in this game. It's don't overlook that, and don't think that, this is like a short-term thing. If you are in this game for a bit, these relationships will continue to, get stronger and stronger, hopefully, if you're doing the right things through different companies. Just take it seriously and, do right by your partners and protect your reputation. Do the best job you can.
That was a great closing point. And again, one that nobody has mentioned because it seems like it would be obvious, but the value of that in the long term. I mean, it's my favorite part about the job of partnerships is like if you're a good person that adds value and is, trustworthy, you're just gonna snowball your career in this game. And I love that. Awesome, Marco. Well, dude, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing some seeds of wisdom with the audience, my friend.
Same to you, man. Same to you. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Chat soon.